Thank you to everyone who's here and who's interested in the programme. Perhaps you've heard about the programme previously, or perhaps it was just through the email that was sent out inviting you to today's presentation. I'm going to be using a piece of software called Miro to help me present this. This is normally a tool that's very important for the programme itself. It's a virtual whiteboard and it's a space that we can kind of collaborate and work on things, but you can also use it when you're doing presenting as well. Starting with just an introduction to the programme, the course itself is called the Certificate in Designing Innovative Services. What you can see here are some of the kind of key details around the programme. It's NFQ Level 8 certification, which has been very important for a lot of people for different reasons, in terms of it might be people who might not have a level 8 degree or even a level 7 degree can take this, and it provides evidence of learning at a level 8 program, which can be important for people in terms of career progression as well. The program is delivered part-time over 4 Saturdays and once weekly online over a single semester. So we're going to be running it in semester 2 of MTU's academic calendar, and what that means is we'll be starting from February and ending in May. When we look at the delivery of the programme, there's 2 modules. One module is delivered weekly from 6 to 8 on an evening, obviously. And the second module, we have 4 specific days where we'll ask you to come online and we'll run through a workshop style day, essentially. Again, the programme is focused around helping people to learn about service design and design thinking and why that's useful. So taking a little bit more of an in-depth look at the 2 different distinct modules that we teach, we're looking at a design thinking seminar series and design thinking for services. So the design thinking seminar series, essentially we invite guests in industry who are either experts in design thinking, service design, maybe sometimes agile, and people who work in different kind of roles. Might be people who are involved in facilitation, involved in innovation, digital transformation, service design, technology consulting, etc., to come in and speak about how they use these kind of tools around service design and design thinking and what's important for them around that. The way that particular module is assessed is through a reflective journal and a presentation. A reflective journal is often something that people are a little bit worried about completing, but we'll try and provide you with as many resources as possible to understand what a good reflective journal looks like and how to work through the weeks in terms of continuing your reflective practice. The second module, Design Thinking for Services, this is the module that's taught through 4 Saturday workshops. And these are incredibly, I suppose, interactive workshops where we get people in and we practice design thinking, service design tools. And the way that is assessed is through a project. So take a look at the Design Thinking Seminar Series here. And again, just a bit of an overview in a bit more detail. These are all going to be online lectures. The online lectures are also recorded, so if you're not able to join from 6 to 8 on either a Tuesday or a Wednesday, we haven't selected which specific date we're going to run it on, there's still an opportunity to watch it back live. And what we found is quite often teams will join together, so we might have 3 or 4 people from a specific team, and if they happen to be working late or there's some issue, they might actually get together in work and sit down and watch the lecture for 2 hours and kind of complete the work together after that. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it's 1 evening per week and it's a 2-hour lecture. Again, the content, they're kind of some theory lectures, so kind of discussing what's important around design thinking and service design. There's some group discussion in terms of maybe reacting to some of the guest speakers, asking questions of the guest speakers and reflecting on that. And at the moment it's a bi-weekly guest, so every second week it's a guest, but it might be a weekly guest or a bi-weekly guest depending on availability of the speakers as well. And as I mentioned earlier, it's assessed through a reflective journal, and we'll give you all the resources that you might need to help you understand what you need to do to complete a reflective journal and an end of semester presentation. So just some examples of some speakers we've had over the last few years. So from the National Disability Authority, we had Anya Higgins-Nikeda, who is a Senior Standards Officer. And again, what this was able to bring to the conversation was the kind of an element of universal design, and how we design for everyone, and how everyone should be included when we're creating a new service or delivering a new service. John Morley joined us from Silicon Valley in California. John's a former senior manager at EMC and Toshiba, and John's actually started up his own innovation consultancy since. So John kind of talked a lot about the innovation process and the importance of kind of teamwork and understanding what we are actually good at and what we bring as team members to a cross-functional team. And again, when we're thinking about an important component of design thinking and service design is you're working with people from different backgrounds. So again, the Service Republic team in Cork County Council are a good example of that, where we're seeing people coming from an admin background, an IT background, and several other kind of distinct backgrounds, and all contributing towards service design and digital transformation. We've had from the Ministry of Justice in the UK, Jess Lipton and Dr. Heather Madden. Heather used to be one of our colleagues in MTU. They came in to speak about how they would have used service design around redesigning the experience of prison leavers, I believe it was at the time. And then we had Roy Sexton, who's the Senior Transformation Manager. I think he might have been promoted since this as well in Dupuis since. And he talked about how Johnson & Johnson have rolled out design thinking across their organisation. And it's interesting, I was chatting to a new member of staff in MTU recently from Johnson & Johnson, and he said everything they do is design thinking. So that was kind of interesting to get that perspective as well. And we have some input as well from the Service Design Network, who are kind of I suppose the leading network in the area of service design. They do a lot of publishing and conferences kind of trying to promote and highlight good service design work. So Jesse Grimes is the editor of their journal, and he came in to speak to our group as well. So again, this is just a small extract of some of our speakers. Again, we've had John Lynch, Laura Morley, Niall Higgins from Version 1 come in to kind of talk about their perspective of design thinking and service design and how it works for them, and some of the challenges and successes they've had along the way as well. So now we're going to take a bit more of a detailed look at the second module, which is design thinking for services. So the delivery style for this is online workshops. So what that actually means is that every Saturday, starting about from 9:30, people start to come in, and we have a little kind of a bit of a chat and a get together before we start working in earnest. Typically that starts about 10 o'clock. And we'll work through a mixture of kind of delivering kind of important theory to help you understand why you do specific things in design thinking and service design. And actually, I get you to practice as well. So the way it's delivered is through Zoom, and we use this Miro as well as the collaboration space, and a lot of kind of exercises and breakout rooms to kind of get people together. And again, we kind of build in some reflection time for these workshops as well. So these run over 4 Saturdays. Typically, we organise our Saturday sessions so that they don't clash with bank holidays, which I think is important because there's quite a few of those, public holidays, in semester 2. Again, the content is around design thinking approaches and service design tools. So we do a lot of practice. And again, part of this is kind of, demystify kind of service design thinking tools and processes, and just to kind of let you practice it. And some people in the room will be very experienced, and some people will have absolutely no experience in these tools. And it's actually fantastic because it gives an opportunity for the more experienced people to share their knowledge and validate their knowledge and to become better at communicating how to do these things. And it gives an opportunity for people who are completely new to these tools to learn from me, to learn from other practitioners, and to actually practice these things as well, and to make mistakes in kind of a safe space as well. And again, I'll ask people to complete a report where people identify a service challenge or a service problem or some sort of problem that they want to redesign. And again, in the past, working with different county councils, people have looked at kind of different problems in terms of kind of managing contracts around mobile phones. In terms of, some people have looked at HR, some people have looked at managing allotments in Cork City Council, I think that was. So a lot of variety in the types of projects and problems that people are solving. And again, what's a nice way to look at this program as well is if you have a challenge or a problem and you want to design it in a more user-friendly and kind of inclusive way, this is an opportunity to actually work through the steps of design thinking, to do some user research, to do some innovation, and to actually implement your project. So we use something called the double diamond to help structure these projects. And what that basically means is there's 4 phases to your project. An initial discovery phase where, you're doing research, might be desk research, where you're reading articles and you're finding out about that problem space. So for instance, if you're looking at maybe human resources and maybe attracting new employees, it's an opportunity to kind of do some research to identify maybe what problems people have inside your organization, maybe what problems people applying for jobs might have, etc. So it's an opportunity to explore the problem space and to identify a really interesting challenge, at which point you have to define exactly what you want. You want to take all your research and define exactly what challenge you're solving. And then we go through a kind of a solution innovation phase where we kind of brainstorm or ideate, or we test out lots of different ideas. And then finally, you kind of propose some sort of a solution. And again, what's nice about the program is you don't have to get through all the way through a project from discovery to delivery to actually pass the module, because you're working in the real world. Within 3 months, you can have roadblocks. Things will slow you down. So what you can do is you can kind of make a proposition in terms of, we think this might be an interesting way to solve the problem, without actually implementing it. And again, if you can implement it and test it and get that feedback, better again, but that's not necessary to pass this particular module. So this kind of, again, is an overview of or a snapshot of one of the particular lectures. And this is our from workshop 1, where I'm introducing myself, so my own background and my own experience. I asked people to complete a persona, which is a tool to help describe a group of users. Then we kind of jump into some theory as well about inclusivity, and we look at some examples of good design thinking work as well. So hopefully this kind of gives a bit of a flavour of how the kind of work is laid out. And what you can see here is, first of all, I'll do some talking, then you're going to do some practice. In this case, it's individually. You might do practice in a group, etc., just to kind of practice out these tools and get some more information about it. And finally, I just click on play on this for a moment. And this is actually, I did a time lapse of people working together. And what you can see are people are creating storyboards here in the center. And it's amazing to watch it. It's a bit like watching ants working in a way. But you can see there's kind of these 4 vertical sections where there's 4 teams working on challenges together. Again, these people are based in Dublin, in Cork, and Galway. It doesn't really matter. And you can kind of see people chatty a little bit here on the bottom left-hand side as well, and some of the chat that's going on. So hopefully this gives you an overview of what those workshops look like and what, the Saturday's work. And again, what we tend to find is that the days go really quickly. We start at 10, and before you know it, it's 3:30 and we're out the gap.